This is lesson 4. I will know and relate metric units to place value units in order to express measurements in different units. So we're going to talk about how metric units are like our place value units. And when you were watching the Zern video, you learned how you could change 1 kilometer and 246 meters is the same thing as saying 1,246 ones. So we know this relationship can help us when we're going from kilometers to meters and to centimeters. All right, so let's take a look at our problem set. Go ahead and write your name, and then we're going to take a look at this table that's on your problem set. So begin at the beginning where it says we have a 1, and the larger unit is 100, and 100 is 100 times as large as 1. So a centimeter is 100 times as large as what? A meter, right? Because there are 100 centimeters to 1 meter. So 1 is 1,000 times smaller than 1,000. So 1,000 is 1,000 times larger than a 1. So a gram is 1,000 times smaller than a kilogram. How many times as large is a kilometer than a meter? Well, 1,000, right? Because there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So there are 1,000 milliliters in what? A liter. What about from centimeters to kilometers? Do you remember from the Zern video? Well, there are 100 centimeters in a meter, and there are 1,000 meters in a centimeter. So a centimeter is, or a kilometer is 1,000 100ths larger than a centimeter. So what would be 1,000 100ths or 100 1,000ths? 100,000. That sounded a little confusing, didn't it? But think of it this way. If I multiplied 1,000 times 100, I would have all these zeros. I would add 2 zeros to 1,000. And that would give me 100,000. That's another way to think of it. All right, so let's try to fill in these units in word form. So 429. So in this number 429, we have 400ths and 29 what? 29 ones. That's similar to 429 centimeters. And in 429 centimeters, we have 4 meters and 29 centimeters. See how they are related? Because there's 100 centimeters in a meter, you can think of the centimeters as ones and the meters as hundreds. So in 2,456 is 2 blank to 456 ones. I'd like for you to go ahead and try to do C, D, E, and F by yourself. If you get stuck, you can always come back and I'll walk you through it. Just try to do them by yourself. See what you can come up with. Okay, so hopefully you tried to do these by yourself. Let's take a look at C and D. So if 2,456 is 2 blank, 456 ones, well that would be 2 thousands because this 2 is in a thousands place. Well, that relates to kilometers and meters. Because there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer, we can think of this as 2 kilometers, 456 meters. And for E, 13,709 is 13,709 ones. So 13,709 grams is like 13 grams, kilograms, 709 grams. All right, let's try to fill in the unknown number. So blank is 456,829 ones. So what number would be made up of 456,829 ones? Well, let's put 456 in the thousands place, and then let's put 829 in the ones, and that gives us 456,829. So that relates to milliliters and liters. So if I have 456 liters, 829 milliliters, how many milliliters is that? Well, it's 456,829 milliliters. So you can see how thousands and ones can relate to milliliters and liters, or kilometers and meters, or kilograms and grams. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Use words, equations, or pictures to show and explain how metric units are like and unlike place value units. I want you to take a minute to pause and think about how these are alike. And I want you to write down some of your ideas, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about an example of what you could have written here. Okay, here's an idea of something that you could have said. You could have said they're alike because I can rename them. 1,200 ones is equal to 1,200 ones, or 1,200 milliliters is equal to 1 liter 200 milliliters. They are not alike because I don't know how to rename any measurements as equal to tens. So this is just an idea of something that you could write. If you wrote something different, please don't erase what you wrote. I'm just giving you an idea of some ways that I thought of how they are alike and how they are unalike. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. So now we're going to compare using greater than, less than, or equal to. So I have milliliters compared to liters and milliliters. So if I wanted to change this to milliliters, what would I do? I have 89 liters. So remember, liters are like thousands. So that's like 89,353 milliliters. So now compare. Well, 893,000 would be greater. All right, so now we have kilometers and meters compared to meters. Well, let's change this to meters. So this is 410,003 meters. Again, this would be greater than. So now I have meters and I have centimeters. So if I want to change this to centimeters, remember there are 100 centimeters. So this would be 5,339 hundredths. So 5,339 hundredths. Then I'm going to go back and put my comma. What do you notice? These are equal. Okay, so these were centimeters. All right, now we're going to put some of these on a number line. So again, you'll notice our number line starts at 2,300 meters, and it goes in integrals of 50. 2,350, 2,400, 2,450, 2,500. So up here I have some measurements that I'm going to put on the number line. And you can see some are in kilometers and meters, some are in meters, some are in kilometers and meters, and in centimeters. In order to put these on the number line, it's very helpful if I change them to meters. So if I have 2 kilometers, 415 meters, that would be 2,415 meters. So now I just have to look on the number line and figure out where 2,415 would go on this number line. Well, this is 2,300, 2,350, 2,400, so I'm getting closer, and then this is 2,450. Well, because I have a 1 in the tens place, and this has a 5 in the tens place, and this has a 0 in the tens place, I know that 2,415 is going to come between these two. So now I know that the halfway point, since these are integrals of 50, the halfway point would be 25. So this is about where 2,425 would be, and this is less than that. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to go back to the original, which was kilometers and meters. When I write this, I'm going to say 2 kilometers or kilometers, 415 meters. Now this one's going to be pretty easy because it's already in meters. So I've got 2,379. So I want you to think about where would this go on the number line, and go ahead and put it on the number line, and then let's come back and check together. Okay, so hopefully you thought to yourself, well, the thousands are the same and the hundreds are the same. I have to look at the tens. So here I have 5 tens, 7 tens, and this is 400. So I know that 2,379 is going to come after 2,350. All right, so we're going to do the next two. We have 2 kilometers, 305 meters. That would be 2,305 meters. And then I have 245,500 centimeters. So remember, centimeters are like hundreds. So how many hundreds is in this number? Well, I have 2,455 hundreds. So that means I have 2,455 meters. Now I want you to figure out where these two measurements go on the number line. Go ahead and pause the video, and then let's come back and see if we got them in the same place. Okay, so you can see I put 2,305 meters here, just after 2,300 meters. And then you can see I have 2,455 meters right after 2,450 meters. Okay, we have one problem left. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one really quickly. If you feel like you'd like to try this one by yourself, go ahead. If you'd like to stay with me and let me get you started and then try some of it by yourself, you can do that too. All right, so first of all, I noticed that my number line goes from 0 kilograms to 4 kilograms. And I'm thinking that each of these marks represents 1 kilogram. I'm going to count and see if I'm correct. 1 kilogram, 2 kilograms, 3 kilograms, 4 kilograms. So yes, this would be 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and label yours too. So if this is 1 kilogram, then this would also be 1,000 grams. This would be 2,000 grams. This would be 3,000 grams. And I bet you guessed that this one's going to be 4,000 grams. I'm trying to decide if it would be easier to put these on the number line going with mixed units or grams. And I think you could do it either way. I think the easiest way to understand it might be to look at these in terms of grams. So like if this is 2 kilograms and 900 grams, that's the same thing as 2,900 grams. Now, 2,900 is going to come between 2,000 and 3,000. Halfway would be 2,500. So I know that 2,900 would be about right here. Now I'm going to go back to the original label, and I'm going to label this 2 kilograms, 900 grams. If you feel like you can do these next 4 by yourself, I'd like for you to pause the video. I'm going to go ahead and pause my video too and do the rest. I'd like for you to pause the video and try to do at least these 2 that are grams or these 3 that are grams by yourself. I think you can do it. Okay, so hopefully you pause the video and you try to do some of this by yourself. Now, this one was a little bit easy because they already had it in grams for me. So I was thinking, well, 3,500 grams is going to come between 3,000 and 4,000, and 3,500 would be right in the middle. So I went ahead and put it right here. And I went ahead and wrote this in red so that you could see it was a little bit different. For 1 kilogram and 500 grams, I converted it to 1,500 grams. And I knew that that would be between 1,000 and 2,000. And 1,500 would be right in the middle. So that's where I put it. This one was already in grams. Now I'm going to be honest with you, this one kind of surprised me because I thought, well, 2,900 grams, and I came down here and I thought, well, that's between 2,000 and 3,000. I thought, hold on, that's the same thing as what we already did. So I just wrote this one below it because we already did that one. So these are the same. And then I had 750 grams. Well, 750 is going to be less than 1,000, so this comes between 0 and 1 kilogram because this is actually less than 1 kilogram, and I put 750 grams here. So hopefully in this lesson, you learned how kilograms and grams and liters and milliliters and centimeters and meters, how you can think of those in terms of place value units. That should help you with your conversions.